Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you can appreciate that dancing, that high energy, that anticipation, that love for what we're about to do right now. That's right, Star Trek New Worlds is here. Welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. If you're new to this channel and you're wondering who and what in the heck is going on here, this is Star Trek New Worlds, a turn-based strategy game that we play online here with you, using the rule set of the Federation Empire game as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau and brought to you live here on YouTube and Twitch today. No Facebook Live, again, not playing nice, but you can catch us here live as you were seeing here. Let me give you a quick walk around the screen. As you can see here to my left, or I guess to the right, we've got the QR code for our coffee, also the link down below there, because if you like what we're doing here and you want to send us a little caffeine support, then feel free to use that link, that QR code, and you will see a disruptor fire and a notification fire up through the chat, notifying you and all of us, of course, that you have fired us a coffee caffeine support. As you can tell, caffeination is important for the energy going into this wonderful stream today. But fresh off the press, what are we talking about today? We are talking about the Carnivon Strike Back, the status of the counterattack, a tutorial on how to attack when you don't have initiative. Is this the Hydrons' last turn? The Reman Catfight, and of course, the Turn 76 reveal. Woo! We're getting into it fast and furious. But before we get too excited, let's roll into the chat and say hello to everybody who is joining us live here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Eugene, our public affairs officer, press agent, journalist extraordinaire, starting us off with cliffhangers end today. After 2 weeks worth of building suspense, answers will be revealed. Will the Northern Alliance finally crush the Southern Alliance? Will the Carnivon, where the Carnivon portion of the Southern Alliance take revenge on the Klingon Alpha's treachery? Will the Kzinti-Fed Alliance, I think that's the Lyran-Fed Alliance, make progress on the Reman front or be bogged down? Will the Remans divert a few build cycles to sweep them back? Did the Gorn-Romulan Free Trade Zone find any juggy outpost, treasures, or loot? And have the Tholians recovered from their first attempt to bring their Borak world into the fold? Or only annoy them more? Whew, the multi-week wait is over. Answers revealed. On with the show. Thank you, Eugene. Of course, Bill is in the house. Captain Adam, previously known. De gonna back in town, hide your bearded dragons and ale along with the brandy. Oh, yes. Okay, so Dancy Tony is back, as you saw. We've also got Jim and Chuck and Will Culbertson. Welcome to the show. Is that a German Shepherd in that picture there? Well, if you want to follow along in the chat, then you feel free to join us here on YouTube and follow along and then participate in the witty banter that is going back and forth here and now on the live stream. But let's get on with the latest and the greatest when it comes to the galactic news. I don't hear any music. That's because the music's not there. Let's try that again. Let's do it a little bit better this time. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, coffee has been fired. Thank you so much. Who fired that caffeine? We shall see in a moment here as I slide over to my various windows. Who fired that caffeine? Ladies and gentlemen, you can't be petty. Fired a caffeine. Thank you so much. As you can see down below, the progress bar has begun to creep towards the coffee link, and you will see that that progress bar hit the end once we get a total of 1, 2, 3 coffees for today. That is our goal. Can we reach it? Can we surpass it? Will we double it? Who knows? Only time will tell. All right, let's give that galactic news a second try, ladies and gentlemen. Slightly different format. Let's see how we go. That's right. All right, the Galactic news. Pull it up, Tony. Monster mash all across the galaxy. Strange critters seem to be crawling out of the woodwork. Gorn forces managed to put a timely end to an energy monster, but elsewhere it appears that raging wars have kept the infestation from being addressed. Reman, Hydran, Romulan, and Lyran space are all unwelcome visitors. Someone call the Exterminator. Under siege? Someone call Steven Seagal. The Reman base in Sector Foxtrot 6 weathered a massive assault by Lyran forces. No fewer than 2 dreadnoughts and 3 command cruisers with a horde of smaller vessels charged into the teeth of the Reman defenses. While the attack was eventually repulsed, it left the defending Reman fleet in ruins. How much longer can they hold out? Are reinforcements on the way? My Magic 8-Ball says, ask again later. It's all about that base, about that base, about that base. A bold raid on Hydran forces has destroyed the newly built Reman base in Quebec 26, cutting supply lines to forward Reman fleet elements and spoiling any opportunity for offensive operations. The raiding fleet managed to slip back to a Hydran base before enemy forces could be effectively counterattacked. The Hydrons may be down, but they are certainly not out. Dispute Pursuit! The Klingon government announced today that it has officially liberated massive swaths of territory on the Carnivon side of the neutral zone. Have they bitten off more than they can chew? Will the wolves roll over to this brash action, or will they show the Klingons that their bite is inversely proportional to their bark? We shall see. It followed me home. Can I keep it? The Kzinti world of Prowl has officially joined the Federation. Diplomatic teams working around the clock have demonstrated that sometimes plowshares are as effective as swords. Celebrations are expected to continue all year as they welcome the new House Cat. Outpost Reptilicon? The Gorn have built a trading post, YBS, on the opposite side of the galaxy from their home. I'm going to have a trouble reading this one. Klink's House of Haggling? Kintz? The House of Haggling offers many varied goods, ranging from large rocks to even larger rocks. The only thing they don't sell are handmade cannons. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our Galactic news. Hopefully you enjoyed the fun-loving witty banter or the commentary that comes from that. That is all due to the wonderful and creative stylings of our GM, Daniel. Thank you so much for those words, because, man, they are good. So, very exciting to talk about what's going on today. As we talked about, we're going to go over the Carnivon counterattack and various other things that are going on. I will say I did get a little bit more of a chance to check out the map today, or today's map rather, earlier. So a little bit more time to chat about what's going on. But let's start off with the catfight in the northern quarter, so to speak, of the map. And let's slide over to that map now. All right. So here we can see, for those of you who are new, we are, let me zoom out so you can see the big picture of what this map looks like. Big hexagonal map. Let's take a quick recap of what's going on. As we can see at the very top of the map in yellow, we've got the Lyrans. Those are the kitty cats, space mountain lines. As we rotate to the right, going clockwise, we can see the Remans in red, followed by the ISC in yellow. That is the Northern Alliance. As we go down, you will see a sliver of green, and there is a green and white and a green and yellow combination there. That is the Hydrons on top and the Carnivons down below. No comments on Doggy Style. As we roll around, passing 4 o'clock, heading towards 6, you will see that there is a black area, perhaps a void. That is the Klingon Empire. And as we continue past 6 o'clock, you will see more red. That is the Romulan faction, followed by the Gorn in white. And as we hit 9 o'clock on that clock, you will see the Tholians, the Feds in blue above them, and then we're back to the Lyrans. So let's zoom in and chitter chat about what's going on here on on the Lyran front. So let's check in before we start off with any of this commentary. I do apologize once again, out of practice. Let's pull up the EP and fleet cap numbers just so that we are fully versed with what the latest and greatest is in the world of New Worlds. Okay, let's check this out. We've got, for the EP, going from top to bottom, we have the Carnivon now at 29.5 EP. Not 3 turns ago, they were at a healthy 44, now 29.5. Federation at 50.5 is their total economy, followed closely by the Gorn at an even 5.0. The Hydrons are at 11 EP total, and the ISC 41.5. The Klingons are ruling the roost at 65 total EP, and the Kzinti, that's a minor faction. The Lyrans are at 49.5. The Remans are at 56.5. Romulans at 48.5, and the Tholians taking up the second place at 56.5. Wow. That's it's quite a dynamic range from 11, 29.5, quite a group around the 50 mark, and then, of course, we creep up to 55, 56, and above. Let's take a look at fleet cap. The Carnivons are still sitting large with 122 total ship equivalents, with 265 attack, 432 defense, and as we've noted before, the defense factors, once they're fully fleshed out, equal your fleet cap. You'll take a note that the 432 is quite the difference between their total fleet cap of 518, representing a lot of crippled ships. The Federation have a total of 70 ships in the field with 192 total attack factors, 307 in defense. You can see the 307 matches their fleet cap of 307 right there. The Gorn are close behind them with a total of 68 ships in the field, 150 total attack factors, 284 defense. The Hydrons still maintaining a large fleet at 59 ships, 139 total attack factors, 239 defense, and of course they've got some cripples in there. The ISC still floating over 100 ships with 113 total ships in action at 362 total attack factors. Wow. And 519 defense. The Klingons, losing a couple ships from last turn's 91, are down to 86 total ships with 237 attack, 311 defense. And notice that difference, 311 to 360 is their fleet cap. Woo. We've got the Lyrans also in the 80s at 81 ships with 183 attack, 343 defense. And they got quite a few cripples as well, you can see there. The Remans, with the biggest fleet on the map, 159 ships, 437 attack factors, dwarfing many of our defense factors. 437 attack, 573 defense with a total fleet cap of 622. The Romulans, 68 ships in the field, 188 attack, 301 defense. And the Tholians, rounding us out at 86 ships, 121 attack. Interesting. 121 attack, 325 defense. I'll be interested to take a look at the Tholians and see what's bumping up their total attack factors. All right, well, let's crawl up here and take a look at the hot spot that's going on. Before we do, let's take a look on the left side of the field and see what's going on. I see there is a battle hex marker that has sort of lingered. I would expect that this Hydran ship that has come through the hex or come through the wormhole is maybe the raison d'etre for that battle hex and has needed to retreat away from the base with no ships there. No harm, no foul. So there is a Hydran ship floating around in Lyran space with Far Stars and Blood Star fleets in close proximity. Let's take a quick look and just make sure that Farstar's fleet has, as we've seen before, couple destroyers, couple frigates, no big deal. And Bloodstar is blah, 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 blah. I always find it fun trying to find the fleets. Am I blind? Bloodstar. There it is, Bloodstar. Goodness gracious. Okay, so we've got a total of 5 destroyers in close proximity and 2 W-era frigates. More than enough to deal with a single Vol, but nonetheless, there is a Vol in Lyran space. We've got a couple of other little ships along the way, but one of the things that's gone unattended is this little swarm. You can see that this swarm in Whiskey 12 they are a monster, so we don't quite know what the total sort of attack and defense factors of this swarm is. But the challenge with swarms is that if they are self-replicating robots, once they destroy a target, a base, harvest resources, destroy a ship, they take those resources and they multiply. So a swarm can go from being small to being a very big problem in a very short amount of time. And as they are currently sitting on a resource, I don't know what the mechanic is going to be for this particular monster, but it is possible that they could be growing as we speak. So I'll be interested to see in the next couple turns what happens. And there is a YBS in close proximity that is already damaged with 1 SID's worth of damage. I'll be interested to see how this evolves going forward. Yeah, very interesting. Of course, we've got the expeditionary fleet from the Feds heading up in this way, and we'll talk to them or address them in a moment. And at the homeworld, we've got a W-era destroyer, a theater transport with a YSR pallet, another W-era destroyer, a light cruiser, 2 light cruisers, 3 Y-era destroyers, and a YCA. So nothing, certainly something to be able to defend the home system with. And of course, those monsters only move about 1 hex per turn. So they've certainly got enough sort of behind the lines ready to deal with the monster should it get closer. But like I say, no concrete action being taken against them right now. Very interesting to note. Let's take a look at their bottom corner here. We've got a continued push of exploration, as you can see, with the bases providing supply. Interesting to note, though, the lack of a tug in this area, as I see it. No tugs building out any further bases that are pushing them further towards the center. So understandably, they may be a little preoccupied with their conflict with the Remans right here. As we get closer, we've got a crippled CL and a CC sitting there with an R&D team. I think those are the guys that were coming back from the previous exchange with the Remans before things got hot and heavy. A couple crippled CAs, a YDD, YFF, and then the big stuff here. We've got a YCC and a tug. Are they building a base? Oh, yes. We can see there is a base to be completed this turn, and it has SIDS damage. Very interesting. I'd be curious to see what the story is behind there. Perhaps it's sabotage. Who knows? Enemy Blood and Foremost Fleet. Let's take a look at those. Enemy Blood Fleet and Lyran Foremost Fleet. Foremost Fleet. Here we are. All right. Whoa. Here is the big action, Jackson, when it comes to what's going on with the Lyrans. So we've got here's those 2 heavy dreadnoughts that was referred to, a whole bunch of crippled command cruisers, 3 of them, and 10 total crippled YDDs. That is impressive. They still have 5 frigates ready to rock, and 4 YCLs and 4 YCAs. So certainly in that particular fleet, while there are quite a few cripples, there's still more than enough to be able to cause some damage. We've also got in Enemy's Blood Fleet, yes, another command cruiser, 2 CLs, a DD, and a YFF, as well as a commando destroyer, which will be interesting to see how they decide to use that. Interesting. I wonder. Okay, so interesting combination of ships here. And of course, we still got a tug, a CA, and a CC outside of those fleets. So still quite a good collection of ships. In addition, we've got home fleet on the back end there. Let's take a look what's in home fleet. Ooh, okay. So home fleet is back here. I'll just put this back here so that it doesn't get in the way. We got a crippled frigate, 3 destroyers, 2 CLs, and 3 CCs. There's a lot of command cruisers floating around here. Very interesting note. Of course, their command cruisers, if you'll note, their command cruisers are a 4.6 versus their normal CA 3.6. So this is common with some of the other factions. When you make it a command cruiser, they upgrade the weapons or improve the attack factors, and so it just makes it a more potent ship, as opposed to, for example, the Federation, Klingons, and some other factions who have a straight 4.6 right off the bat in the Y era. So that's very interesting. We can see that they've got a collection of crippled, of course, and non-crippled ships. Let's take a look at what's going on the Reman side. So first of all, let's take away the ships and just see no SIDS damage on the YDK. No SIDS damage. That's big to note. So no SIDS damage on the YDK, and we've got New Fleet and Prometheus Fleet. So let's pull those up. Prometheus and New. Okay. So Prometheus is behind my head there. Okay, so I'll just move this down so a little bit easier to see. But long story short, you can see here that we've got quite a few cripples. In fact, almost all of them are cripples. 2 non-crippled D4s, which are their cruisers, and then 5 crippled F4s, KF4s, and 6 frigates, another 6 frigates, and another cruiser crippled. So a total of 1 crippled, my voice is obviously dying here, 1 crippled cruiser, 5 crippled destroyers, that should be 6 crippled destroyers, right? Nope, 5 crippled destroyers, and then 12 total crippled frigates. Unreal as far as how much damage has been taken there. However, good thing to note, the YDK has the ability, obviously, to repair. And if we look around the surrounding bases, this base isn't complete, so it won't be able to necessarily do any repairs this turn, I don't think. And the only other repair facility for the Lyrans is way back here, this YDK. So as far as logistics and the ability to repair and get sort of ships back into the action, that is a weakness of the Lyran position, a strength of the Klingon position, and it'll be very interesting to see how the Klingons can get their ships to the front line to potentially support the defense of this YDK. Very interesting to note that there's the Lyrans, that is, are spending so much time and attention focusing on that YDK. I like that, generally speaking, for the Remans, but we'll have to see. A quick note, I'm just going to take a quick look at the EP here again. So just as a reminder, the Alliance rules force, switch back here. The Alliance rules force those parties that are in an alliance to combine their economies, and then based on our initiative rules, the largest economy goes last, or the smallest first. So if we think about that from the perspective of who's got the biggest economy, the Federation and the Lyrans are currently in an alliance. The Federation has a 50.5 EP economy. The Lyrans have a 49.5. So that's 100 EP total. The ISC have 41.5, and the Remans 56.5, meaning that the Remans have initiative. They go first. So what this means is, if we go back to the map, the Remans get to repair first, and depending on what they build, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know what their strat move capabilities are, but if they can strat move that far, they could have an entire build cycle, which we know from experience is 1 cruiser, 3 destroyers, and 3 frigates. They could get a total of 7 other ships on station there, along with repairing a total of 4 different F4s. So 4 F4s plus another 7 ships means that they could have quite a significant number of ships on that station to defend it effectively. Will they do that? Who knows? There's a lot of other sort of things that could go into that. And of course, we've got Pegasus Fleet in the corner here. Let's see what Pegasus Fleet is all about. I have a feeling that it's not nothing. Boom. Well, it's not nothing, but it's not a whole bunch. So it is 3 destroyers, a frigate, and a cruiser. So not enough to really move the needle. But if there was a way for this fleet to move into a position where they could either defend or support a new fleet, or sorry, this YDK. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know that they could. But they could, for example, they could attack home fleet, and by attacking home fleet, reduce the number of non-crippled ships that would attack the YDK. So that could be interesting. That could be valuable. That could be really neat to see as a tactic to try and delay and draw out the longevity of that particular station. Because that station, to be fair, is right now the bulwark that is holding back the Lyran assault, and the Lyrans are particularly focused on it, which is interesting to note. All right, let's slide my head to the other side, and we'll spend a little bit more time talking about the Remans. All right, so what do we got on the Reman side of the house? Well, we can see that as we talked about before, let's take it with the ships real quick. Let's look at their bases. We've got a couple of bases that have been crippled. I'm curious as to how and why. Maybe Orion attacks are going behind the lines and causing some issues there. So if that's the case, we've got a couple of YBSs that have been crippled. Interesting. But nothing destroyed. So we've got a good infrastructure, at least in the core system of the Remans. As we slide in here, we can see we've got an Admiral. So Admirals, what they do is they add a command factor to your fleet, meaning we talked about in a previous episode the YCC, for example, the Enterprise. The Enterprise has a command factor of 8, and that means it can control 8 ships plus itself, total of 9 ships in a formation. If you had an Admiral and it gave you a +1, that means it gives you 1 additional ship that you can control. So instead of 8 plus itself being 9, it could control a total of 10 ships. If you have as the case with a lot of these command cruisers that can control 9 ships, then you can grow that to a total of 11 ships in the formation. If you have a command factor of 9, plus yourself is 10, plus the Admiral is a +1. Now, there are rules around this to some Admirals are better than others, meaning some are +1, some are +2, some are -1, some are -2. But I'm not sure that we're using that variable rules, that variable influence in this particular campaign. My understanding is it's just +1, but I will have to confirm with the GM. If it was variable in that respect, we won't know until the Admiral is used in battle. So we'll have to wait and see and get a report back from the Reman player as to what is going on. So let's take a look. We got a Tug, we've got Triton Fleet. So let's take a look at Triton Fleet. What's going on with Triton Fleet? Here we go. Okay, so Triton Fleet is an example of, let's get back to the map. So Triton Fleet is an example of a full build cycle. We've got a cruiser, 3 F4s, and 3 E2s, KF4s and KE2s for the Remans. Those ships, if depending on the strat move capacity, could move as well to that YDK and help defend it. Again, it just depends on how much strat move capacity that the Remans have and how much or how far they can go. And that's a tech thing that we can't necessarily glean from the map. We'll have to sort of wait and see and observe what they do and sort of deduce where their tech is based on that. So we know that that's coming, which is good. So they've got enough they've got a healthy number of ships sort of defending the home system. They've got the potential to repair and defend that YDK, at least for another turn. We've got a bug kind of in the mix. It'll be interesting to see where that bug goes. Does it go south, east, west, or north? We'll have to see. If it goes west, like the Pet Shop Boys talk about, then maybe it'll influence the combat that's going on there. Maybe engage some Lyran ships or Reman ships and see what's going on. One thing to not forget about is there has been a discovery of a Borak faction up here. Now, this Borak faction, I don't know that it has a name. Second Fleet. Let's take a look. Borak. Second B Fleet. So, wow, this is not an insignificant fleet. We have a YDN, YCA, and they're good DNs and CAs, 6/8s and 4/6s respectively. A YCL, 3 YDDs, which the DDs and the FFs aren't necessarily all that great. 3 YFFs with a 3/9. So their destroyers and their frigates aren't so great, but their cruisers and dreadnoughts are. So interesting to note, not an insignificant concentration of ships. They also have a YDK, a ground base, 2 ground bases, and they're a developing planet. So interesting to note. It'll be very interesting to see how this kind of bubbles out, settles out, so to speak, as things go forward. Okay, so let's scroll down. There was a comment, as we heard in the Galactic news, about how a base had been destroyed on the front with the Hydrons. So let's just take a quick look here. And there was a base right here, if memory serves, or maybe it was here. I can't remember. I'd have to pull up the map from last turn. If you want to, go check out our live stream from 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and you will be able to see the last sort of update on where the bases were here. So bring the bases back, Tony. So I'm going to guess that it may have been right here where this convoy is. And if that was the case, then it would have been providing supply to these other factions or these other fleets. However, based on where these fleets are now, they're really out of position. The K4 is, along with Acropolis and Columbia Fleet, are out of supply, except 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's pull up the supply map. This might help. Supply menu, Reman Supply. That's the Reman Supply map. What it's not taking into account, though, is that there are some bases here in X-Ray 26. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is a little bit of crossover here, but there is no coverage where these ships are, meaning these ships are out of supply. This one is still in supply, but these ships are out of supply. And this KT4, although it could, as a tug mission, provide extended supply, needs to be in supply itself to do that. So it can't perform that function. However, this K4 could. However, because of the location of this vol, it's going to stop it. So this vol is a non-crippled ship, meaning it can influence the supply around it. So Pacific Fleet is the same situation. So it can. So the supply in these 2 hexes is affected by Pacific and the vol, which means supply can go through these hexes. Assuming a 4 hex supply range, 1, 2. This is the problem. Quebec 28 is where the supply stops. And I believe, I'd have to double check, but I don't think that a ship that is out of supply can react. And reaction range is how you affect supply outside of your initial hex. So while that would be bad. Basically, Acropolis and Columbia Fleet with this T4 are out of supply, and certainly this KE2 is as well. So that's going to provide a challenge or a problem for the Remans. Now let's look Columbia and Acropolis Fleet. Let's see what's in those fleets. The only thing about being out of supply is it halves your attack factor, doesn't eliminate your defense factor, and you can move only half speed. So in this case, they can only move 2 hexes, and they have half the attack factors that they would normally have. So Acropolis Fleet, where are you, my friend? There you are, Acropolis Fleet, and what is this one? Columbia Fleet. Reman, Columbia Fleet. Ooh, Columbia Fleet is pretty big. So Columbia has 4 cruisers. It has a total of 6, 12, 15, 16 F4s, non-crippled F4s. It has 7 E2s, and then, of course, there's 2 crippled E2s and a crippled F4 there as well. And then, of course, Acropolis right beside it down here has a cruiser, 3 F4s, and 2 E2s. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired. Thank you. I feel my energy going down. I think I need a shot of caffeine to get things going. Oh, yes. It's like I'm a Super Saiyan. I'm powering up. Bam! If only I had my hair, you could see it spike. All right. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we are now, who is that? Geostorm fired the coffee. Thank you, Geostorm, for your caffeination support. We are now 2 coffees in of 3 to the goal, so 2/3 of the way there. Looking forward to rounding out our trifecta of caffeine as we get further on here. So, yes, Colombian Fleet, Acropolis Fleet, out of supply, going to pose a challenge. If the Remans, so the Remans don't go first, the Carnivon and the Hydrons have initiative over them. That's going to pose a challenge because when that happens, they're going to move first, and I have a feeling that this stack of ships here is going to attack the Remans, and we'll talk about that in a moment when we get into the Hydrons. But ooh, my goodness gracious me, that is going to be painful potentially for the Remans. But we'll talk about that in a moment. All right, let's scroll back up. A couple little things too, as far as housekeeping goes. We can see some exploration is continuing to happen here. And as I take away the ships, take note of the supply infrastructure. As we can see the red shadow across space, you can see there is a very sound and robust supply network that is providing supply all the way through to these front lines. Again, we have not to forget about our wormholes and the access that provides, and of course the reinforcement that the ISC also provide, as the ISC and the Remans are allied. So there is a relatively robust supply network there, and there's ships sort of peppered through here that are providing some support to be able to keep that sort of in effect, which is great. All right, let's kill the supply menu there for the Remans, and let's roll into the ISC. So the ISC also have a fleet on the homeworld of the Remans. It's Destiny Fleet. Now let's pull up their named echelons, and we can see it all in one shot. So Destiny is at the very top there. It's a CL with a R&D team, so nothing too crazy. But we have Providence Fleet here. Providence is at the bottom. It is a fleet of 5 DDs, a CL, and a tug, and it looks as though it may be on its way to help support the Remans. Oh, there's also Integrity Fleet here. Integrity, which is a CC, CL, and 2 FFs. So all this to say that should the dam break in the northern part of the Reman Empire and the Illyrian force cascades through, that the ISC is there to be able to support potentially the Remans from that attack. Now, that being said, big picture here. Big picture. When we looked at fleet cap, who's got the biggest navy? The Remans, by like an order of magnitude. They are ridiculously, well, maybe not an order of magnitude, but it's pretty close. They are by far the biggest in numbers, like number of ships, and the overall attack and defense factors. Their attack factors exceed other factions' defense factors, including the Klingons. The ISC are like number 3 on the total big ship list, just under the Carnivons. So the top 3 fleets by number are Reman, Carnivon, and ISC. So out of those 3, 2 of them are allied. And, wrong combination of fingers. 2 of them are allied, and that's what the Lyrans are fighting. So not to say the Lyrans can't win, just that we shouldn't, ring the death knell of the Remans just so fast. They might be having a little bit of a stumble right now when it comes to being attacked on 2 fronts and being outmaneuvered by the Hydrons, but they got a lot of firepower ready to unload when they decide to do it. So let's keep it in context. Okay, back to the map. All right, so we've got those sort of fleets and those assets heading up to support the Remans. As we scroll down here, we can see Again, not too much as far as ship count in the body of their home system. Where is all the business happening? Well, down here on the front. So we've got another bug that has shown up in this area. But other than that, what do we got? As we come down, we can see we've got Law Fleet here. So Law is a CC, 2 CLs, and 5 DDs. Not a total build cycle, I don't think. Being that there's 2 CLs there, but certainly a number of ships, and they're making their way south. They have 3rd Fleet here, so let's take a quick look at 3rd Fleet. That's not on our list there. Well, 3rd Fleet's just 1 ship, so no big deal there. But we got a DD and an FF guarding that that YDK. No big deal. Another YDK over here, good to note, as far as the robustness of the repair facilities. And they got a CL and a DD there as well. The big money makers are down in and around the old Hydran capital, which is Judgment Fleet. So Judgment, a couple cripples there, which is interesting, but 2 DDs, 3 CLs, and a CC. And the big mama is Enforcement, Truth, Justice, and Order. Okay, so Truth, at the very bottom row there, you can see right there. Truth Fleet is that 2 DNs? Okay, no, it's just 1 DN with a prime team. A CC, a CA, 6 CLs, commando ship, and 5 DDs. Now, keeping in mind that in the old days, so to speak, a couple turns ago, we saw double-digit fleets of CLs and DDs heading into Hydran territory, so it's not that. However, as we said, we have Truth and then Enforcement Fleet. Enforcement is another DN, another CA, 6 more CLs, and how many DDs? Come on now, 7 DDs. So we're back to double digits. 6 plus 6, 12 CLs, 7 plus, what was it, 5? 5. So we've got 12 and 12 CLs and DDs plus supporting command ships with CCs, CA, 2 DNs, 2 CAs. It's a ridiculous number of ships. And that's just 2 of the 4 fleets that are there. They also have Justice and Order. Order is a CA, 7 CLs, 4 DDs, and a tug. And what was the other one? Justice. Justice, CCCA, 2 CAs, excuse me, 4 CLs, and 5 DDs. So effectively what we're looking at as a combination of total ships here, it is a ridiculous number of ships focused on this particular world and that can unload and cause damage. Now, there is also this little thing going on here. Why is this tug all by itself? Interesting to note that the tug is going to have supply because this team here keeps this open. The tug being non-crippled keeps this open. So there's this supply line here, and of course the Vol itself is crippled, so it can't impact supply around it. So this tug is here, and it's going to start building something. Okay. It is particularly vulnerable to Hydran ships, so it's kind of all by itself. Knowing that the Hydrons and the Carnivon will go first before the ISC and the Remans, I'll be interested to see what happens to this tug and what the potential response is. Now, maybe the Reman ships are going to react to support the tug if required. But yeah, that's going to be challenging. It's going to be overall challenging to see how this goes, because I appreciate that tug is there. If it starts building something, it's going to be problematic. And if it just provides extended supply, which it could easily do, but that could also provide or prove to be problematic. We'll have to see how this all works out. Like it's such a dynamic and fluid environment here as to what's going on. But that's the ISC. So we've got the ISC and we've got the Remans. And as you can see, the total sort of hammer that is dropping on the Hydran head is pretty significant. Before we go into the Hydrons, let's scroll back into the chat and see what is going on with our community here. Woo woo. So let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's scroll up. Where were we? Dancing Tony. Jim's in the house. All right. Coffee fired. Bill says, hey, Jim, Chuck, and Will. Hello, Devin. Chuck, let me tell you, if you have to last minute travel, Airbnb cannot be beat. Oh, if you have to do last minute travel, Airbnb. We are not fracking kitty cats. We are proud hunters, he says. Prowl. All right. My apologies, Chuck. I'll give you some catnip later. Or would you prefer a saucer of milk? So if you take the base, is that considered an Airbnb? Don't forget, press like anyone. Nope, Tony, this turn they do not. They do not. What was I talking about when you wrote that, Chuck? This turn they do not. Are we talking about... Yeah, can you just clarify for me what that's all about? Triton Fleet has an admiral. Chuck, they also cannot strat move into the YDK. Are you sure? Because according to the rules, there needs to be a 6 hex connection. Now, granted, there's an issue around that, but there should be an uninterrupted 6 hex connection to the YDK. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I count 6. Not only that, but they do have though there is a supply chain to it, so there shouldn't be any issue there. They have a consistent supply chain into the base. So I'm curious why you think they can't strat move. Eugene. With economic exhaustion, is the Reman build cycle still the same? Can they afford a full build cycle now? Good question. I don't know. Chuck says, this is the rule quote, 204.22, which is, so first of all, if you're ever going to question a rule or have a discussion around rules, doing what Chuck is doing right now, I haven't even read it yet, is perfect because you're quoting the exact rule and how it contextualizes in the game. The only context is if for some reason the GM overrules it, but we're pretty much following the rules as published by EDB, so here we go. The moving units can never enter a hex containing enemy units or which is adjacent to a hex containing enemy units, not merely ships, except as provided below. I believe the as provided below is with regards to the interruption of supply, which as right now, they could strat move into that hex because the Lyrans don't extend any influence on the immediate hex leading into that YDK. So I believe they can strat move, but we'll see. They can react, but not extended reaction. Yeah, I think. Well, we'll have to check that out. And for any of those who enjoy rules questions or going deep into this kind of stuff, then you can join our Discord channel where we do exactly this. We have full blown out. We have a rules channel or a rules channel inside our Discord community where we talk about the rules and how it impacts different games. Different GMs have slightly different interpretations on certain aspects of the rules, but generally speaking, like I say, we kind of stay inside the box when it comes to the ADB rule set. So if that is something that is of interest to you and you want to sort of participate in the back and forth and the jab and the jibe that happens here on the live stream, then please feel free to head over to coffee.com and you can join us on our Coffee and Discord tier and join us in our Discord channel as Devin Dean has done. Devin is now part of our community and, of course, a recent subscriber as we are trying to get to the 500 mark to unlock the community tab here on YouTube. So things to think about. So think about that. Back to the chat. Big Slow Target. Why would Quebec 28 be not in supply if both sides have fleets adjacent to it? Quebec 28. Quebec 28. Let me scroll down to where we were talking. Quebec 28. Right. Sorry, I'm looking at it, and you should look at it too. So I was just talking about this in the context of the ISC, and you're right. The issue is the reaction. So if they are adjacent to it, then they should be able to provide supply. So yes, the only issue is, so theoretically they could provide supply. if this KT4 were to provide supply through, it could reach Acropolis. It could not reach this one here, Columbia Fleet in Sierra 28. The challenge is the Hydrons go first. And at the time when they'll go first, that KT4, assuming it's not already providing extended supply, as the Hydrons will go first, then that ship will be caught out of supply, which sucks for the Remans. Yeah, that's how I read. Excuse me. That's how I read that. All right. Hi, BST. Big Slow Target. Not in supply because Reman's supply does not reach it yet, fundamentally. I mean, if the tug became a supply point, yes, but of course the Hydrons will go first, and so we'll have to see how that goes. Lord Lawless, better late than never. Welcome, Lord Lawless. Thank you for joining us once again. Paul, Enforcement Fleet is with the tug. Enforcement Fleet is with the tug. Oh, I see. So here's a question. So potentially slight typo on the map. This tug right here for the ISC, Enforcement Fleet, Paul is saying, should be with that tug. So let's just remind ourselves what's in Enforcement Fleet. Enforcement Fleet is the D and the CA boatload of 6 CLs and 7 DDs, a frigate, and a prime team. So if that's the case, then they are very well defended and can certainly hold back the tide of any harassing Hydrons that may get into the party. Right. Whoop. Let's come back down here. You can't be petty and join the live stream. Boom, boom. Thank you, sir. George Forknall. Welcome, George. Sorry, I skipped over Eugene. Eugene, Reman strat move. There is a resource blocking the strat move. Does the resource block? No, it doesn't. Resources in themselves don't have any influence in that way. George, some might say that the Gorn's Expeditionary Recon in force are in good position to start grabbing resources in what's left of Hydran space. Push exploration eastward, or we come in peace. Yeah, I agree. The Gorn are in a great position to grab territory. We'll see how that goes going forward. Because they will. Bill says, currently 3 games running and a 4th about to start. So start raising hands, whoop whoop, and joining up to play. So let's quickly talk about that. So yes, we currently have 2 games from the New World side. We have 2 games in action. We have another campaign from the OG group. So I guess arguably 3 campaigns in going. But as far as specifically the New World's contingent, we've got 2 campaigns in process. We have at least a 3rd in development. And actually, as part of our Discord, we're going to be having a demo of the new Vassal module that we're going to be using potentially in that campaign. That will be after this live stream. So if you're interested in that, you can join us on the Discord community. We're going to be talking about that. So there's that. And there is a 4th potential campaign, which is being ruminated on. We don't have any firm solid commitment on that just yet, but there is interest to run a 4th campaign. So if that 4th campaign run, then we've got the OG campaign, the 2 current campaigns running, a 3rd campaign, and a 5th potential campaign. If you are a Federation Empire fan, if you like what we're doing here, if you want to try your muscles, your mental energy at being an armchair admiral, then maybe signing up on Coffee is good for you. You can subscribe to the channel to see when those notifications go out and when the recruitment video goes out. When those recruitment video goes out, Coffee supporters and Patreon patrons, there we go, get first crack at being able to sign up for those games, as they are paying supporters, understandably. So they get first crack at picking not only their faction, but also being part of those campaigns. And as an example, in our last campaign, Into the Void, when we launched the recruitment video, it filled up in less than 48 hours. So if you are interested in potentially playing in one of these campaigns, then be sure to hit subscribe, get that bell notification tagged on, and consider supporting us in a coffee kind of way. With that said, let's slide back in and talk about the Hydrons. Okay. Hydrons, wow. Let's take away the ships real quick because it gets kind of noisy with all those ships. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Quick sit rep or situational report on what's going on with those Hydrons. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 YBSs remaining and a YDK on their homeworld. This homeworld is a colony. This is their sort of transplanted new homeworld that the Carnivon were kind enough to gift them. As you can see, this base is in construction. Looks like, I think it's already finished. I believe 103 is this turn. 103F is next turn. I might be wrong on that. I lose track between our fall and spring turns versus the turn number because, of course, this is turn 76. So I'd have to go check that out just to confirm. But as you can see, a couple of bases here with SIDS damage, one over here and one right here. This one under construction. And as we can see, this is sort of how this is going. Interesting to note that they still, as we mentioned before, the Hydrons still have a fairly significant fleet. We have 2 tugs and First Fleet. Let's take a look at Hydran First Fleet. Wow. Okay. So Hydran First Fleet is not 1 but 2 DNs, a total of 4 CCs, 2 DDs, and 7 Vols and a crippled Vol, as well as 3 different prime teams sitting there on that base. So providing some good reinforcement for what I think is a completed base and making sure that there's no issues or problems with where that is. That's going to be interesting. There is Tungsten Fleet. Oh, okay, let's pull this up. So that's the far left here, and Xenon Fleet, that's just an exploration fleet. There's nothing too much there. But let's focus on this stack here, which is Iridium, Tungsten, Home, and Second. So Hydran. I'll be honest, I don't like the Hydran Fleet nomenclature. It drives me, trying to find them is a pain in the butt. Home Fleet. All right, here we go. So we got Home Fleet there. Yeah, and then we got Tungsten and Iridium. Oh, goodness. Hydran, Tungsten. Metal Fleets? There's Iridium, and there's Tungsten. Okay, we got it all in one. So between all 4 of those fleets and the casual ships that are there, so we've got a total of 4 Vols and 1 tug sitting there, happy as clams. And then we have Second and Home Fleet, which are the big hitters here. Iridium and Tungsten are basically survey fleets with a supporting Vol, one of which is crippled. But Home and Second Fleet are where the money is. So that's 1 DN, 4 CCs with an additional 1 from Home Fleet. So a total of 5 there's 2 there. So let's try that again. 6 CCs, 1 DN, and a total of 5 Vols in addition to the ones that are already there. So 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 Vols, 6 CCs, a DN. That's a pretty decent little fleet. And especially if they're able to catch Acropolis and or Columbia, I would think if they're going to pick one, they'll pick Acropolis. So if they have that fight with Acropolis, and I would imagine that Columbia will react into that hex, but if they attack Acropolis, they'll be able to inflict, assuming that the Remans fight, they'll be able to inflict some pretty significant damage because the attack factors on the Reman side will be halved. So it'll be problematic. But yeah, they could cause some issues there. If I'm the Remans and that happens, I withdraw before combat into Quebec 28, by example, with this KT4 providing extended supply, and then when my fleet is able to, and in supply, because at the start of my turn, when I have that able, they'll be in supply in Quebec 28, and then I move forward and attack that base. 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. And then they attack that base, and depending on what ships are remaining, they stomp it or not. I think that Acropolis and Columbia, if combined and if in supply, will have more than enough to take out this base. However, it will be a slugfest, and they'll take a lot of cripples. They won't be able to retro out, and so they'll win the day. They'll take out the base. If they're successful, that will cripple, that will effectively eliminate the Hydran fleet, because that is the bulk of the Hydran navy there. Between First Fleet and there, that's the bulk of what they have left. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this sort of pans out. Yeah, very interesting. Also, something to think about, First Fleet's in position to be able to take out that tug. So if they're smart, and of course they move first, and they do have supply from this base, then they can reach up, take out that tug, and that will help alleviate that concern. Although the convoy could still provide the extended supply, and they'd still be in trouble. So I don't know. It's a dicey one. I don't know exactly how they want to play this, the Hydrons that is, but it's looking tough. As per the question, is this the Hydran's last turn? Certainly not. However, the writing is on the wall. How is this going to go forward? I don't know. Are the Carnivon going to be able to get in? Because if they can get into this fight, 122 ships, then they can potentially turn the tide on this, because certainly the ISC and the Remans are sputtering a bit on their assault. Like, the momentum is dying here. So the Hydrons are doing a good job at holding back that tide of water. The question is, will the Carnivon be able to get in? Obviously, the Klingons and the Carnivon's got a little something going on, which we'll talk about right now. Before we do, though, let's just have a quick look at the chitter chat, because I see there's quite a bit since I was talking. Okay, you can't be petty. Hello, all. George, count me in. I would really like to be part of a future game. Can the Tholians use the wormhole to go through and then also move to attack the tug next door? Are the Tholians still at war with the Northern Alliance? Good question. Good question. Let's take a second and just answer that question on the map. So this wormhole is the Gulf wormhole, and if we slide over here, this is where the Gulf wormhole is. I want you to take note. There's no fleet there. There is no fleet there. So what that means is, of course, the Tholians can't send anything through, because they don't have anything there to send. But if I'm the Remans and I wanted to start a fight, granted, they're not really in a position where they could do that very effectively, but if I wanted to, I could go through that wormhole and pop that base, because there's nothing stopping me. And there's some juicy YBSs that could get blown out in the process. Like, it's just a juicy target. Now, the Tholians, to be fair, they're well, like, they've got some stuff going on there. But yeah, if I like to stir the pot, and I don't know who does, but if I like to stir the pot, then that's something you could do. Of course, the Remans certainly have their handful with the Hydrons, and we'll sort that out as we go forward. All right, let's scroll down and take a look at this gong show that is the Carnivon Klingon encounter. So first of all, you're probably wondering, what is all that business on the map, Tony? What are we looking at? Okay, this is an example of what I would argue is an effective use of the Disputed Hex Mechanic. What is the Disputed Hex Mechanic? The Disputed Hex Mechanic is, so one of the challenges we have is when you go to war status, of course, you are incurring war turns, and you will remain at war status as long as you are on the wrong side of a previously agreed neutral zone, or you come up with a new agreement about where that neutral zone will move to. For example, if we look at this map, we can see that our old neutral zone runs down this diagonal, zigzags up and around. So that's the old neutral zone, right? The new neutral zone would be, once the disputed hex is resolved, would come up this uniform, zigzag here, around there, up along here, up this way, up until here. So that would be everything that is in this sort of hashed out hex area would be Klingon territory, and there would be a new neutral zone all around it. And so what that would allow me to do is I could then stay within my borders and go to peace status. And if I'm attacked, I have to resume war status. But if I'm not attacked and I hold the line, then I'm good and I can just stay at peace. What this does is it prevents your opponent, if they're exhausted, from keeping you at war. I mean, obviously they have to keep attacking you, but as you will note, the Klingons have done a pretty decent job of blowing out bases and the infrastructure to be able to support an attack. So that's what the Disputed Hex is. You have to maintain control in these Disputed Hexes over a course of 4 turns. And after the end of 4 turns, you own that hex. I think it's 4 turns. Let me just, I'm just going to slide over here and quickly double check. So the dispute mechanic is something that we created, or should I say the OG GM, Derek, created as a way to be able to manage and resolve this exact issue, because forcing another player to be at war and incurring war turns when you as the attacker have no way to control it other than eliminating, like total death kill, your opponent is a little challenging. So let's see here. Disputed Hex Mechanic. I'm looking it up. Definition owned territory. Obviously, I need to find it. Disputed. There it is. Disputed Hex Mechanic over... Just trying to make sure the number of turns is correct. Sorry, it's not 4 turns, it's 6 turns. My mistake. So over the course of 6 turns, if you maintain that that control, at the end of 6 turns, that's where the new neutral zone goes. A couple things that can interrupt that. One, if you have a ship ending its turn in the Disputed Hex zone, then you lose that hex. So for example, if we go back to the map, if you had Fox Skulk end its turn in this hex, like it goes into the hex, I attack it and it retreats out, no dice, I still maintain control of the hex. If they go into the hex and they end their turn in that hex, then I lose that hex. Make sense? It's a little bit of a messy mechanic, and it's certainly kind of like can pare down, but it allows you an ability to move the neutral zone without a full agreement because you're exercising control over that area, if that makes sense. So that is what is going on here and why there's all this sort of busyness on the map. And as you can see, the reason I'm able to execute that is because I have all these ships in strategic positions that are exercising that zone of control. So the Disputed Hex extends 1 hex, or the reaction range of that unit, and then you could see that's sort of, you map that around, that's mapping where all those ships are. Fair? So that's what that looks like, and that's how that's being executed with regards to this this map. So let's look at the top and let's work our way down when it comes to the Carnivon. As I said before, the Carnivon currently have 29.5 EP as their economy, and as we go down, we can see we've got a YFEL. So this is their a large exploration freighter, a First Reserve, which is again another. First Reserve, there we are. It's another large exploration freighter with a frigate escort. And then we have a convoy here, which has been running away, trying to keep itself safe. As we move along, you can see that they've got a convoy here, sort of trying to provide extended supply. A couple bases. If we take away the ships real quick, you can see the collection of bases. They have 2 bases north of their border, which is part of that support for the Hydran War. They've got 1 YDK on the Hydran homeworld, as well as a YBS here. They have a YBS at the very south, their YDK, and this YBS over in the corner. Important to note, this YBS is out of supply. I mean, bases are always in supply for the purposes of the rules, but what it means is that there is no connection to this resource, meaning that they can't actually use that resource. It's being collected here as a pooling resources as a partial supply grid. So even though they have 29.5 EP, they can only effectively use 28.5 EP. Klingons have that same problem, and I'll show you that in a minute. So you saw that sort of distribution of bases, and you can see the big change in this map was twofold. One, there were a bunch of ships that were overextended and they fell back, so to speak, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Actually, I'm going to pull up. I did an analysis, a sort of a summary of all the did a summary of all the ship damage that occurred over that turn, and I'll show that to you in a moment here. But it was exciting. So right, let's go back to the map. There we go. All right, so you can see here, so Foxskull 2 took this planet here, Arbor, which previously was owned by the Klingons. When they took it on their turn, on the Klingon turn, we attacked that planet, and Foxskull 2 took some casualties. So you can see here, Carnivon, Foxskull 2. So this is Foxskull 2, and you can see that they have a CC-CA, Drone Bombardment Cruiser, Destroyer, 4 destroyers, and then a stack of 11 crippled frigates. That was based on an attack that we did. Now, the Klingons took some cripples as well, and certainly took some damage in that respect. But we attacked them to cripple them because, if you will note, there is no repair capacity close to that planet. They have to move 1, 2, 3, 4 to this base to even start repairing, or if they want to go to their YDKs, there's a YDK here, here, and of course in their home system. So that's effectively 2 movements, 1 round of repair, and then 2 movements back, potentially, or a strat move back to Arbor, which makes it logistically hard to support if you're constantly attacking. Now, Den Fleet's in a similar position. However, they are they did a really good job. I had a bunch of ships that were sort of out of position and out of supply in and around this area, which the Carnivons attacked, caught them out of supply, was able to blow up quite a few ships and sort of get out of that. I had to attack Den Fleet as a way to to retrograde move my ships back down to my base here, which you will see has a stack of ships. It has 4 different fleets plus a bunch of crippled ships. I had to attack Zoid and the pillar of strength that the Carnivon player had put there in order to be able to retrograde my ships out of there. So basically, it's an approach battle. They accept the approach battle, one round of combat, and then I retreat. So that was problematic. One move that I think caught the Carnivon player off guard is I had a bunch of M ships positioned here. The Carnivon player very effectively attacked this resource, although it didn't take it, the resource it is, but I had to retreat out of the hex. And then my ships snuck past, shall we say, the front line, took out the base that was sitting on this planet, and then took the planet. So this planet, now devastated, is a 1 EP gain for the Carnivon, or sorry, for the Klingons, but is a 3 EP loss for the Carnivon. So I lost Arbor when they attacked it, but it's only a 1 EP loss. And so they gained 1 EP but lost 3 with this particular planet here. Now, there's no illusions about the fact that this fleet will get stomped next turn, without a doubt. But nonetheless, this allowed an option to be able to cause more of that economic impact that we talked about in the tutorial video. If you'll go back to step 1, step 2, step 3 on how to conduct a war and have your enemies flee before you. So that was something that happened there. One of the things that's interesting is because I was on the back foot, in the sense that I was on the my initiative, I went after the Carnivon. The Carnivon initiated a bunch of attacks, and I had to pick what I wanted to do. So going back to the tutorial idea of how do you execute a war, how do you attack when you're on the initiative or the back end of initiative, here's how that works. When you have initiative, the map is exactly as you see it. You see the map, you move first, you get to attack what's there, no problem. When you are on the back end of initiative, where you go second, you have to anticipate to a certain degree where ships are going to go, and or you have to prioritize for yourself where you want to attack. So you can be super complicated and niche about it and get super detailed in your instructions. I find in practice, that ends up shooting yourself in the foot, because as the player that you're facing will most likely do something, or at least there is a high probability that they will do something you don't expect. When that thing happens, you are caught flat-footed, and the instructions that you gave, very specific that they were, either cannot be executed, or they're executed sort of improperly because either A, the player you're fighting has attacked you and already weakened that initial attack force that you were going to use to cause damage on your enemy, or they've moved out of range and the target that you were looking to hit is no longer available. And if you do that often enough, or you establish a pattern of that, your opponent can anticipate what it is you're going to do, and basically set traps for you and catch you in very vulnerable or sensitive positions, as opposed to creating that priority of targets, providing your intent in the sense of this is the objective, the outcome I'm trying to attain to the GM, and then describing the group of forces that you want to use to attack. In order to do that, you need to make sure that you have overwhelming force, meaning that you have to be, as opposed to when you have initiative, you can be surgical, small number of ships, specific target, that kind of thing. When you are on the back end of initiative, you can no longer be effectively surgical reasonably. I mean, in certain situations you can, but as a more strategic perspective, it's important to think about things in overwhelming force and big macro moves, respectively. Right? In that way, you can move in such a way that you can, like with a lot of momentum, move into a position and force your opponent into a dilemma, a decision where they need to go one direction or another. They have to choose A or B. It's not just a yes or no answer. It's I'm forcing you into a choice. And both of those options, A or B, one or two, whatever the case is, both of those are going to be problematic for you, because you're going, as in my objective is to make you lose something whichever way you go. In this example, what I'm doing is I'm creating choices for the Carnivon player where he has to either lose the target that I'm attacking, like a planet or something, or eat casualties. And let me tell you about those casualties. So, for example, in this last turn that just happened, the Klingons lost a total of 1 D6M, 1 F4, 9 E4Ms. So that's a lot of ships. That's a total of 11 ships that I lost, and that represents 32 EP of money to build those ships. I also had a lot of ships crippled. I had 6 E4Ms crippled and 10 F4s crippled. So if you combine the cost of repairing those ships, which is 3 EP for the 6 E4Ms, 10 EP for the F4s, you combine those two numbers, it's a total of 45 EP worth of damage that I sustained, losing 11 ships and crippling 16. That's a lot of damage, 45 EP. However, it's all about the balance. So with the Carnivon, they lost 2 YBSs, which are 10 EP a pop, which means they lost 20 EP of resources, right? They lost 3 frigates, Y frigates, so that's 6 EP, and they lost a planetary ground base, which cost 2 to build. So that is effectively 28 EP worth of damage that they lost. Still less than what I lost. However, they crippled a bunch of ships. They crippled 3 cruisers, 2 light cruisers, 5 bombardment cruisers, and 15 frigates, which when you combine all of that together is 45 EP worth of damage, or like 45 EP to repair it. So combine the 28 and the 45, that is 73 damage, $73 EP worth of damage that I inflicted on them versus the 45 they inflicted on me. Granted, I lost ships versus he only crippled ships, but one of the biggest vulnerabilities right now for the Carnivon is their ability to repair. So when I cripple those ships, I am imposing a financial burden on the Carnivon player to repair them. And with only 28.5 effective EP, that's problematic. Also, they don't have a lot of repair capacity. If you look at the total repair capacity, they have 32 total points that they can repair if you include all their bases everywhere. If you just include the bases that are bordering Carnivon space, I have the exact same amount of repair capacity. I can build more ships and repair faster and get them back on the line than he can. And I'm inflicting more damage. So over the long run, that seems like a bad calculation, a bad scenario for the Carnivon player. So in this context, how to win the war? As I mentioned in the Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 video that you can go check out on the playlist. In Step 1, we devastated and demolished their strategic infrastructure, the bases, their ability to repair and provide supply and reach to affect and attack the Klingons. Step 2, economically cripple them. And Step 3, death by 1,000 cuts. So we're creating this scenario where we're engaging in these skirmish battles, not against the pillars of strength, because I'm going to lose those fights. He's got 122 ships right now to my 80, 4? So he has a third more ships than I do, without a doubt. Third more ships? Quarter more ships. He's got more ships than I do. Or he's got 50% more ships than I do right now. But my ships are stronger. So in a pound for pound fight, I do more damage, but he's just got more stuff to throw at me. So the more I can sort of take the legs out of his ships by crippling them and overwhelming his repair capacity with cripples, the more successful I will be in the long run. I will take hits, certainly in the beginning, but then there will be a pendulum shift, and I will start, in very short order, devastating the crap out of the Carnivon scenario. So that is sort of the environment we're playing in right now. So if we go back to the map, I know that was a lot of talking. Let's take a look here. Let's take away the ships and look at the logistics supply for the Carnivon. That's their reach. Notice how their reach doesn't touch most of my bases. There's only 2 bases they can reach, and we've already talked about the ships that are on Arbor. I crippled a whole bunch of them. He doesn't have the strength to actually attack these bases with the ships that are there to defend them. He can attack them for sure, but he won't be successful, and he will cripple all or most of those ships. And therefore, he's just going to have a boatload of crippled ships, and then it's my turn. I get to repair and attack because he doesn't have repair capacity there. The only reason he has the supply reach to hit these bases is these planets, and once I take them, he can't, eventually I will take them. There is a lack of non-planetary infrastructure to be able to support this stuff. And then, of course, you think about the economy. My economy is at 65. His economy, 29.5. I literally am over twice the size economically than he does. My industrial capacity outperforms. My logistical capacity outperforms. The advantage that the Carnivon have is the number of ships. And that will be a huge advantage. But in this example, like I said, you have to provide your opponent a dilemma. Choose A or choose B. In this case, if you choose A, which is attack me at my bases, I can still defend them. And I'm going to edge closer to this disputed hex thing, which means I'm just going to take the territory anyway. So you, as an opponent, need to think, how am I going to deal with this disputed hex thing? Am I going to fight him on a 1-by-1 or a 1-on-1 scenario? We've already discovered in previous turns that the small-scale combat mechanic is incredibly troublesome in actually causing damage. And I've got, fairly decent ships in those positions. My ships will force him to allocate resources to engage those disputed hexes while I'm repairing and putting other big bad ships into position. It's a challenging situation. So let's go back to where we're at here. Let's take away the supply menu. There we go. Okay, so what do we got? We got Den Fleet and Fox Skull. So we already talked about Fox Skull. It's crippled and strong enough to hold its position, but it will not last long. 1, maybe 2 turns tops. Of course, he gets to move first, so he can reinforce that position, possibly. And then what ends up happening, he fights a defensive game. Den and Diamond Fleet. So let's look at Den and Diamond Fleet. Those are, I won't lie, those are going to be big, bad fleets. Diamond and Den, god damn. Okay, so these fleets are big. You've got a DN, 2 DNs, 2 CCs, drone bombardment cruiser, light cruiser, but then a couple crippled ships. He's got, again, another DN, CC, CA, tug, DD, a total of 11 frigates, but then a bunch of cripples. So what is he fighting against? He's fighting against another fleet here of a D6 and 5 E4Ms. I've got the repair capacity here to get at least another round of those against him. And every time I engage him on those, I can attack because I have 6 movement with M ships, and then I can retro back to my repair capacity or my repair facilities. He can only move 4 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, which again, with his constraints around supply, he cannot reach me to punch me. So using like a boxer's analogy, I'm out of reach. He has to overextend to hit me. I don't have to overextend to hit him by comparison. So it makes things more challenging on the Carnivon side. However, let's look at that. We got quite a stack of crippled ships there. Let's look at Ruby. What do you got? Ruby, Coyote 1, and Home. Carnivon. Ruby, where are you? Ruby Fleet. Coyote, I believe it was. Coyote 1. And Home. Carnivon, Home Fleet. Okay. So this is, again, another stack of ridiculous ships and Ruby. Okay, so these 3 fleets are on the homeworld. So you've got, again, another DN, 2 CAs, crippled CL, another 3 crippled frigates, another DN, a whole bunch of CAs, 3 of them, 2 CLs, drone bombardment cruiser, DD, drone bombardment destroyers, and 8 frigates. A 3rd DN, my God, CL, drone bombardment destroyer, and 8 frigates. So 8 plus 8, 16 plus 4, 20 frigates. So he's got lots of ships, and this is the thing. He's got so many ships, but I'm just creating so many like headaches for him, like a fly, a gnat annoying him. But with a sting that if I sting him, it's going to cause problems. Examples of those irritants and those choices that I'm forcing: the disputed hex as a big distraction, the Apocalypse Fleet, and being able to move in those positions and do that kind of stuff. I'm going to force him to send ships to deal with Apocalypse and take back that planet, which just defers, gives me another round to get more of that full build cycle of 5 E4Ms, an F4, and a cruiser back up on the front line. It's going to be problematic, all things considered. So with that said, what do you think? What do you think about this conflict between the Carnivon and the Klingon? Do you think the Carnivon are toast? And if so, how should we deal with them? In that video, go check it out in the playlist. I provided step 1, step 2, step 3, and in step 3, I gave you 3 options, 3 potential outcomes that we could take to be able to resolve this issue. 1, which was peace. 2, a potential alliance between the Carnivon and the Klingons, maybe. Or 3, total death kill. Which one do you think is the right choice? I point out some of the weaknesses of each one of those and the advantages of each. What do you think is the appropriate decision when it comes to the Klingon vice the Carnivon? And if you're the Carnivon, what do you think you should do? Are you in a position where you should play nice and wait to backstab later? Or are you going to roll over? Or what are you going to do? Because in this scenario, you've got the Northern Alliance coming down hot and heavy. The Hydrons are doing their best, but there's only so much they can do. You got the Klingons coming in from the south, and they are causing a lot of damage. So what do you do as the Carnivon? What course of action do you take? What path can you find to survive and thrive in the game going forward? You tell me in the comments, in the chat, you let me know. All right. With that said, TDK, Kapla, Bill says. All right. Let's take a quick look at the chat. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, lots of chit chat here. Right, George, count me in. Eugene, your head was in the way in showing the G wormhole. Oh, my head was in the way. I will show you the G wormhole again as we get around, but essentially there's no ships there. I apologize. Can you show Carney and Klingon supply grids in the disputed zone? Yes, I will show you Klingon and Carnivon supply. So let's show Klingon supply and let's show Carnivon supply. So this is the overlap between Klingon and Carnivon supply. This highlighted area is the overlap, right? So you can see, obviously, I've got supply over here and supply here. But you've got this, basically, the disputed hex is very close to the Klingon supply reach. And the Carnivons, like I say, they can reach this disputed hex just here because of Arbor, but they can't actually reach where my bases are here on the more southern part of our front. Interesting. So hopefully that's I'll leave that up while I go through the rest of the chat here. Bill, talk about how if you both keep killing planets, the planets will get smaller. Yeah, so if we keep going back and forth on the planets here, like if Arbor keeps going back and forth, it's right now it's a minor planet, but if we keep trading blows on this planet, it'll go to a developing and then to a colony and so on to represent the steady state of damage that will be inflicted on it, right? Something to think about. To extend Bill's question, can a planet be downgraded to a colony and a colony eventually be downgraded to a resource? Theoretically, yes, we haven't seen that happen yet, but I could see that a colony could be degraded into a resource, eventually basically bombed into the Stone Age. Bill says, the idea being you can only devastate something so many times before the population suffers. Yep. Bill saying the TDK, no hungry shark who I kicked in the back. No, hungry shark who I kicked in the back. We are losing the war. Comes to save us. Build bases in my territory. Nothing bad can happen there. Trojan spaceship, he says. Okay. All right, so let's take away the supply menu real quick, and we will carry on with the Romulans. So where's the Klingon? There we go. So one of the, we'll just round out the Klingons here. We know that there's a wormhole here. So in case you missed it, the wormhole used to be on Cadia. Cadia being a reference to Warhammer 40k and the Eye of Terror and the planet right next to it. That was Cadia. The wormhole has since moved. It's shifted south and is now in this Kilo 52, which is still a Fog of War hex, irritatingly so. And so we moved a fleet down there to deal with it. But of course, it's still a Fog of War hex. So yada, yada, yada. Basically, the Fog of War eliminates supply reach through it. And so even though I could send a fleet through, theoretically, through the wormhole, I would never be able to provide supply because the hex is still fogged. Same thing for the Feds. If they were to come through, they could go into that hex, but they couldn't provide any supply outside of that hex because, again, Fog of War. So, challenge. What else we got? We got couple of battle groups here just kind of sitting on the border, and this is all part of basically the trade supply back and forth between the Romulans and the Klingons. They've got a YDK here, I've got a YDK here, and we keep sending stuff back and forth. We've got a Gorn wormhole that popped up here, and of course this Y wormhole that has yet to be transited, which is interesting. Third Legion, what they got there? What do the Romulans have in Third Legion? Curious. Oh, damn. Sneaky. Look at that. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 warbirds, 2 kingbirds, YSN, and basically a tug. So that's interesting. 2 tugs, because there's a WFB there as well, a Y convoy, and a fleet that they're amassing in this little location. Interesting. All right, let's take a look. So the big thing on the Romulan side, I'll move my head to the other side so it doesn't get in the way. The big thing with the Romulans is they have this little issue known as the Juggernauts. You can see here in the top left, Raider 1 is a fleet of Juggernauts that have come to say hi. How big is that fleet? Well, it's a cruiser, a light cruiser, total of 3 dreadnoughts and 6 frigates. That is a lot of compot. That's 30 just in the frigates. Another 18 in the destroyers, and then of course another 20 between the light and the heavy cruiser. So that's 20, 50, 30, sorry, 50, 66, 68, excuse me, 68 attack factor and defense factor because they're even ships. That's a lot. And any fleets that sort of the Romulans can build aren't really going to be competitive with that. However, something to note. I would like to formally welcome the Romulans to the M-Era Club. And why do I say that? Because when I look at their home fleet, what's that? That is an SNM, a Snipe M-Era. A Snipe is the frigate designation for the Romulans, and an M indicates M-Era tech. So they are now officially in the M-Era, and of course are being able now to build M-Era frigates. Now, I'm sure they can build other frigates as well. Here's the big thing about the Romulans. They can upgrade all their ships. So those YKBs, I think they need to be downgraded to Warbirds before they can get upgraded into M-Tech, I think. I'm pretty sure. But all their Warbirds, upgradable to Warbird Ms. All their Snipes, upgradable to Snipe Ms. All their W-Era ships can get upgraded to Y-Tech and then get upgraded to M-Tech. Granted, it might take a couple turns to make those 2 jumps, but there's quite a bit of capability there for the Romulans to upgrade their ships and be a potent force when it comes to the ships they have in play. However, that takes time, and Raider 1 is here now. 20th Legion, which is right now the welcome wagon for Raider 1, I don't believe is going to be able to do what they need it to do. You will see here that the 20th Legion is a WSN, a W-Era frigate. It is not big enough to stop that fleet for sure. But Home Fleet and 14th Legion and 4th Legion, let's just take a quick look at it. 4th Romulan Home Fleet, which we were just looking at. So let's bring that over here to my head. Right? And what was the other one? Home 14th. Romulan. Okay, so 14th Legion is the second one from the bottom here. So you'll see that this one here, it's a YWB and a YSN with a prime team. 2 Snipes, M-Era. 2 Snipes, Y-Era. A commando ship, a Warbird. 2 Kingbirds, and a Vulture, which is their dreadnought. So it's a good ship, but keep in mind, it's a 7-8 ship, and the light cruiser in the Juggernaut fleet is a straight 8. So anyway, then we got a Y-Era frigate, another 3 Warbirds, and 2 Kingbirds. So there is more than enough here to make a go at it, but I don't think that even this fleet is going to be able to stop Raider fleet. And as we've seen with the Juggernauts, you don't need to wipe them out completely. You just need to win the engagement and force them to retreat. Will this be enough? We will have to see. I don't know that it will be. However, the Gorn are available to assist. Let's take a look here. Gorn 4th. The Gorn have been building a little bit of a fleet. They've got 4 destroyers, 2 frigates, a command cruiser, and then a DN, 3 more FFs, and a DD. So 5 and 5, I think. That's 5 destroyers, 5 frigates, a command cruiser, and a dreadnought. Again, not enough to make the difference, but if they work together, one after another, maybe they'll be able to cause enough damage to move the needle. We'll have to see. But again, with the Gorn and the Romulans now in M-Tech, we'll have to see how they roll out their M-Tech, how much money they have to be able to build and really sort of roll out their M-Tech options. We'll have to see what that looks like as we go. But yes, the Romulans, again, guarding a lot of their wormhole scenarios. We've got 4 wormholes and a gravity well in the southern part of their territory. That's very interesting. And then, of course, we got this gravity well here, which is the result of the Juggernauts coming through. And they continue to push, going north. Oh, look, they've discovered a Paravian faction up here. The Vulture Fleet. Ooh, let's take a look at the Paravian Vulture Fleet. Vulture Fleet is 6 frigates, 3 destroyers, 2 CLs, and a CA. Okay, not more than enough to hold back both the Romulans and the Gorn at this point, but very interesting. They've got a YDK, 3 planetary ground bases, and they are a developing planet. So that's really cool because that is a logistical point for the Romulans and for the Romulans and the Gorn, or whoever wants to take it. It'll be interesting to see. Interesting. Okay, speaking of Paravians, let's take a look at the Gorn. The Gorn have a happy plus on this developing planet down here, which is a Paravian planet. And you can see that they're most likely going to be, well, we know that there's some challenges when it comes to bringing a planet into the fold, so to speak. So we'll see how that goes, but nonetheless, they are on the cusp of being able to bring that planet into the Gorn Empire. And of course, with the Gorn being at an even 50 income, that peaceful onboarding of the Paravians with a 4 EP will put them at 54. That'll put them in some of the top tier economies of the game. Very interesting to see how they've progressed considering where they started and how things were going. It's truly a success story when we talk about the Gorn and sort of what they're doing. We can also see here we've got their mobile fleet and this wormhole and the AA wormhole here. But of course, the big news is we go back over here above my head right there. Whoop, right there. You can see there is a tug that has finished the building of that YBS. And of course, they are starting to grab resources in the area. Will Strike Fleet grab this Hydran resource here? Maybe. And if it does, what's going to happen? I don't know. But the Gorn could very effectively establish themselves in this corner and start pushing up and down. I mean, there's a lot of options here for what the Gorn could decide to do. And obviously, they have the technology to be able to transit wormholes without issue. So that will be an interesting evolution as things go forward. Very interesting. And of course, as we see, they're continuing to push through this sort of collective free transit zone with Vengeance Fleet, some survey vessels, and so on and so forth. Wow, interesting. Commercial convoys going back and forth between the Tholians and the Gorn. We can also see that the Kzinti faction is continuing to hold out, although they are happy plus, so it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. But they have a diplomat there and 314th battle squadron. Let's look at the Tholians battle squadrons. 312th. Oh, 314th. I've technically got 314th, but I don't see anything there. Oh, I see. I got it. So 314th Battle Squadron. The label is at the bottom. We have a Y-era cruiser, destroyer, and 3 patrol craft that are there. I'm interested to see and know, sort of maybe from the Tholian player and the GM, how is it that you have an entire battle group there without having an actual conflict? Why is there no battle occurring there? I'd be very interested to see. All right, scroll up. We've got, again, this is the G wormhole. Nothing on it. Nothing on it. No ships, no nothing, just the YDK, which makes it a very easy, juicy target. We've got Third Fleet here. What's in Third Fleet? Tholian Third Fleet. Oh, captured KE2, a couple patrol craft, 3 DDs, excuse me, and 2 YCs, Y-era cruisers for the Tholians. Interesting. So just enough to be able to guard that YDK. We, of course, have some crippled ships here, and, of course, Home Fleet, which is conducting their attacks against Flaming Dragon, or Green Dragon, or the Borak faction. Let's take a look. Tholian Home Fleet is, oh, damn, 4 cruisers, 3 destroyers, a total of 7 YPCs, 3 commando ships, and then, of course, 2 of those PCs there are crippled. So an interesting collection of ships against Green Dragon. Does the Borak faction have enough to hold them back? What does Green Dragon have? Oh, yeah. Well, they got a bunch of... They're going to go first, so they're going to be able to repair. The question is, how much can they repair? Their YDK has 2 SIDs worth of damage. They have 7 frigates. How... Let's see here. Flip. So it only costs 1 EP to repair. So if they had... If they had 4 EP, then they could repair all those YDKs, all those YFFs. Interesting. They are immediate. They do have 4 EP. So 4 EP, yeah, with 4 EP coming from that developing planet, they could certainly repair all those frigates, which would cause a lot of problems for the Tholians. The question is, will it be enough? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves going forward. What else we have here? We've got Second Fleet guarding the W wormhole. What's in Second Fleet? I'm so overly interested in what's going on with the Tholians. Again, 2 cruisers, a destroyer, and some patrol craft sitting there and keeping things nice. Now we remember this stabilized sensor reading. That is most certainly a Juggernaut faction, and if we assume that Charlie 28 is the location, Charlie 28 being right above my head here, if that is the location of the homeworld, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's most likely another base here in Whiskey 31, which means that either the Tholians and or the Gorn are going to detect it very shortly. Very interesting to see. Again, the Tholians have been building up their military specifically to take out Green Dragon. We'll see how that goes going forward. Let's talk about the boys in blue. The boys in blue, what you going to do? Well, we can see that they are doing a very good job of continuing their exploration. The wall of blue, the thin blue line, is working its way towards the center. We've got cruisers with prime teams making their business towards the center. We can see, of course, that they've got their expeditionary fleet heading towards the Reman front. Let's take a quick look at the Fed expeditionary fleet. Here we are. We have a total of 4 frigates, 2 destroyers, 2 light cruisers, 2 cruisers, and a command cruiser, along with a commando ship. So what is that? That's 4, 6, 8. I thought that there was a limit, 10, 12. So there's a total of 12 ships. Maybe 12 is the limit in the expeditionary fleet making its way towards the Remans. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. Notice how the proximity of the expeditionary fleet to the swarm. I'd be curious if the swarm decides to take a nibble on the expeditionary fleet. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. What we can see is, let's pull away the ships. Prowl has finally, ever so finally, decided to join the Federation. Now we can see they have the combination of both the colony and the planet ready to rock. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we got 2 frigates and a diplomat there. Convoy probably going to be building something there shortly. Excuse me. We've got the YDK with 7 Fleet. Of course, from my perspective, I'm always kind of curious what's going on with 7 Fleet because they are on the other side of a wormhole that could come say hi to me at any point in time. CCCA and 5 frigates. Second Fleet is also in that same boat. Second Fleet has 5 frigates, 2 CAs, and a CC by comparison. Exeter sitting there over top a wormhole with a base, looking good. The Federation is another one of those quiet factions that I worry about because what is it that they're going to do? They seem to be, obviously, they're supporting the Lyrans in the attack against the Remans, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to what's going to go on with these guys. Yeah. I mean, far be it from me. I mean, they're not. I can't hit them. They can't hit me. But I worry about the long term of the game. Where are they going to be and what are they going to be doing? It certainly seems that the Tholians, the Lyrans, and the Feds are collaborating in a very strong way. And what is that going to mean for the rest of us as we go forward? I'll be curious to know. All right. And then, of course, that rounds us out back to the top of the clock with the Lyrans as we started off. So what do you think? as we go through, what do you think about the Reman Catfight? Do you think that the Space Mountain Lions are truly thrashing the vampires while they sleep? Are they doing dirty to the Reman Empire, and are they going to take out that YDK before anything happens? It'll be interesting to note. Like I say, I'll have to check out that rule 224 that Chuck made reference to see if it's possible whether the Remans can even strat move into that hex. I think they can, but we'll have to see how that works. With the Reman sort of tripping up a little bit with the Hydrons, are the Hydrons? What's the fate of the Hydrons with the ISC and Reman Onslaught? Is that hammer going to finally drop? And if so, what's that going to look like for the Hydran faction? Are they going to, as NSYNC would say, bye, 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 bye? Are they going to retire from the game? Or are they going to hold out for just a little bit longer? Are the Carnivons going to come to their rescue? The cavalry over the hill, so to speak, very Lord of the Rings to rescue the Rohirrim, or is there some other outcome that we're not thinking about? Are the Klingons going to total death kill the Carnivons in the process? Are they going to go to peace? Is there some kind of alliance in the works? What do you think we should do? It looks very much like a one-way fight. How many casualties will the Carnivons be able to inflict on their way down? Or will they be able to come back in some way? Will they discover M-Tech at the last minute and flip the script on the battles that are occurring? Who knows? We'll have to see. Are the Romulans going to be able to deploy those M-ships fast enough to be able to deal with the Juggernauts? Is there going to be rampant destruction and mayhem caused by that errand fleet of Juggernaut explorers? Are the Gorn going to be able to assist? Are the Gorn going to take roots and take resources from the Hydran as they go? What in the world is going to happen with the Tholians? Are they going to polish off the Borak? Are they going to make their way to the center? Or are they going to exert their political influence in some other way? Speaking of political influence, the Federation are supporting the Lyran attack against the Remans. What are they going to do? How are they going to flex now that their economy continues to grow and they amalgamate they consolidate their position of political control with all those minor factions inside their empire? How are they going to flip the script on all their neighbors around them? Are they going to ever attack the Tholians? Are they going to continue to work with them? Are they going to allow the Lyrans to be able to grow at the Reman expense? What is going to happen with the Federation position, and how are they going to map this going forward? I'm very curious to see, now that we've got the Gorn, the Romulans, the Klingons, all with M-Tech, who's going to be next? Is it going to be the Tholians? Is it going to be the Federation? Who is going to start rolling out those M-era ships, and what is that going to look like? How is that going to change the dynamic? So much to figure out. So the question is to you, if you haven't already checked out our video on the step 1, step 2, step 3 to conquering your enemies, then please check that out and let me know, both in the comments of this video and of course that one, what do you think we should do? What is the best course forward to be able to deal with the Carnivons? Go to peace, an alliance, or total death kill? You tell me, let me know what your thoughts are. And of course, what is going on with the rest of the campaign with the Remans and the Lyrans? Should the Lyrans wipe out the Remans if they can? Should the Remans just decide to drop the hammer on the Lyrans by consequence? How should we deal with the shady support, potentially, of the Federation and the Tholians for these factions? Should the Gorn get involved and poke and prod the Tholians for what they're doing? Or should they just focus on the supporting the Romulans in their challenge with the Juggernaut faction? Speaking of the Juggernauts, everyone wants to know what's at the center of the map. Who should push to the center and get to know intimately what's going on with those Juggernauts? I don't know. Time will tell. We'll have to figure it out. Let's finish off with some chitter chatter here in the chat. So we've got the Trojan spaceship picking up where Bill left off. Gonna be Gorn next turn. Yeah, minor faction planets have less EP income, Jim says. Bill, talk about possible Juggy base at W31. Yeah, like I said, those I'm seeing some potential encountering with the jugs, not only in Whiskey 31, but also, what is it, India 31? India 31 as well, which is over on the other side of the map. Prow joined Feds, but it is only indifferent. When it joined, it had to be Happy Plus. Yeah, it's indifferent now. So what happens is when it's Happy Plus as an independent, it joins, and then when it joins the new faction, it is indifferent. It goes back to neutral, and then you can affect it from there. They don't join at Happy Plus and then are just Happy Plus. You still need to work to try and get them up once they're part of the part of your empire. So that's how that kind of works. You work them up to Happy Plus, get them into your empire, and then go from there. Carl, I was told they would be pew pew. And Jim says, plans are afoot. There will be no TDK going on, he says. Jim, how's tricks? Is in the sense, I'm assuming that's what tricks are you going to pull to try and prevent the TDK? Eugene, howdy, Devin Dean, newest member. What does Devin bring the count to now? We are currently at 274. You can see that in actually the description for this video. 274 is our total subscriber count. We are trying to get to the number 500. So let's see if we can get through the month of October. Let's get ourselves past 300. That's our goal. For October 31st, can we get to past 300? I hope so. I hope so, because we got to get to that 500 hopefully by the end of the year, and then we can open up the community tab, and then we can share more info with you all. And then George says, all very entertaining. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, George, for joining us here on today's episode. So thank you very much, everybody. I will leave you with the thumbnail for the step 1, step 2, step 3, so you can go look for that in the playlist. But if you have enjoyed what you've seen here today, then please consider helping us along with the subscriber count. I note that, challenging though it is may be, we have not hit our 3 total coffees for today. A challenge, I know. We'll look to hit 3 for our next time around. But yeah, you can head over to that coffee QR code or the link down below, and you can join us as part of our community in the Discord chat. We'll be jumping into that shortly after this live stream is done to be able to go through a demo of our most recent Vassal module and some sort of efficiencies that we've done there or picked up there to make it all more user-friendly, not only for me showing you, but also for players playing and GMs managing games. So with that said, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you next Saturday for our update live stream on what's going on in the New Worlds campaign. And until then, bye for now.